We're going to talk to Keith, Frank, Ted, Jimmy, Matt, and others here in just a moment. But Mike joining us from Hawaii via video Skype. For folks that are watching us on prisonplanet.tv, finish up the point you were trying to make.
Well, before I finish up that point about the game playing where Israel will set up the opposition parties in Palestine to keep the Palestinians divided and under control, we just had this story come in. CNN is now reporting that a member of the Israeli parliament who was on board that Turkish ship has now gone public saying that the Israeli forces opened fire on that ship 5 minutes before the commandos rappelled down from the helicopters. So this is a member of the Israeli parliament saying that the Israelis started shooting first, and that when they started boarding the ship, the people on the ship fought back because they felt they were underneath attack. This is coming from a member of the Israeli parliament saying this, and we just put this up at whatreallyhappened.com. Now, again, getting back to the situation in Palestine, obviously Israel covets the Palestinian land, and it always has. If you look at the maps of Israel ever since David Ben-Gurion declared it to be in existence, you see this constant pattern of increasing encroachment on the Palestinian lands. And every time the Palestinians try and form a government to basically establish their state, which the UN promised them, Israel will covertly fund an opposition group in order to be able to go around and say, we can't talk peace with the Palestinians. We don't know who we're supposed to talk to.
Well, wait, it's worse than that. The Jerusalem Post and Haaretz, I mean, this is in Israel. And that's the funny thing. They admit the Israeli military can nix anything they don't want in the news, like the D-notices they have in England. So even in their own media, they admit that Israel, since the 60s, has created and funded radical Muslim groups to destabilize a peace process.
And it's even worse than that, because we know that Israel has set up fake al-Qaeda terrorist cells in Palestine in order to try and tarnish the image of the Palestinians and the rest of the world.
No, that was the Jerusalem Post headline. Israel creates fake al-Qaeda, yeah.
Yeah, that was it. And so it's all deception, and it's all pretend, and it's all make-believe. And the good news is more and more people around the world are beginning to understand this is how these things are being done. We cannot expect, truth and accuracy coming from government statements, or for that matter, most of the corporate media, which is why less than 10% of Americans are now getting their political news from the TV network news, and your and my readership and viewership and listenership are continuing to skyrocket. People want the truth, and they're going to go where they can get it. And the ability of the corporate media and these government propagandists to manipulate and control public opinion is very much starting to crumble before their eyes, which is, as you pointed out earlier, they're passing laws. You've got to be licensed to be a journalist. The government is going to come in and post their messages on everybody's website to make sure their message gets out.
In fact, I've got that Fox News article here in my stack. And I'm going to cover it later after you leave us. But that's what's so amazing is the media now reports this like it's normal. Like, yeah, you're not going to be able to have a blog or a website now unless the government first approves it. And even after that happens, you'll have to have government messages up on your website to counterbalance anything you say. I mean, this is not freedom, Mike.
No, it isn't. But it is in the interest of the corporate media. They want their audience back. And if they can level the playing field where the blogs and alternative media are forced to parrot the same propaganda that the corporate media does, then the corporate media will lure their audience back because they've got the money for fancy sets and cute little girls in tight clothing and all the rest of those so-called production values that they like to rely on to trick the audience into coming and looking at their content.
Well, that's right. The mainstream media is almost unanimously, from the Times Time Magazine to the New York Times, they're all promoting shutting down our free speech. Because, of course, they were these arrogant mainstream media people that loved the fact that Americans didn't have a voice. They were still arrogant and thought, oh, little websites will never rival us. Now we're trouncing them. In every poll, they have no credibility. We have high credibility. They're losing more of their market share every day. They're bleeding out. But I want to let them know, it's too late. You can't put the genie back in the bottle. You're discredited whores. It's over. So go ahead and try to shut the web down. Show everybody who you really are.
Yeah, the war with the blogs isn't just starting; it's already over, and the blogs won. The damage is already done. The U.S. government is dealing with a credibility crisis of mammoth proportions of its own making. And right now, this moment, as we watch President Barack Obama basically just stand there impotent and mute before Israel's kidnapping of American citizens from international waters, the American people are getting very, very angry. And they're not all that angry with Israel because Israel is basically acting true to type. They're angry with the U.S. government for very obviously selling out. The European press is saying Obama knew ahead of time that this was going to happen. So we have this situation of the U.S. government basically going along with a foreign government's attack on our own people. And most Americans see this as treason.
All right, Mike, I really appreciate you joining us. We'll see you again next month unless the economy continues to implode and they stage a new war and shut the web down, which is something under the Cybersecurity Act they're openly talking about. But hopefully we'll be here again next month. Mike, good having you on. We appreciate the time.
Thank you very much. I look forward to seeing you next month.
All right, take care. Well, he made a lot of really good points and made some very convincing arguments there. I just want to add in the larger whole, Israel is also being played in this. All the nations of the earth are being manipulated by this military-industrial complex. And we do have the Counterpunch article. We're going to get it up on Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com. Member of Israeli Knesset says that Israeli military did begin firing on the ships 5 minutes before they even boarded. And so if that is confirmed, that is just amazing to have something like that going on.